have the pleasure to receive Rhonda Bell from the Human Nutrition at the University of Alberta in Edmonton. Rhonda, you're a specialist of nutrition and behavior, and making food choices, could be healthy or not, is complex. Could you tell us more about the ecological framework in order to better understand the complexity of factors that influence our behaviors?
Yes, thank you very much for that question, Paul, because this is something that's very important to understanding all the different factors that influence people's ability to choose a healthy diet. So it is very complex, and we can think about it in terms of concentric circles, where we see things that are important first to the individual, and then to the family and friends, that social circle, and then we can move out from there to think about the community, and then ultimately things like food policy and international food policy. So with all these different levels of complexity, we've tried to address this by developing what we call the 4A framework. So the 4A framework looks at 4 different aspects of factors that have influenced people's ability to choose healthy foods. The first one is called adequacy. So for adequacy, we talk about meeting nutritional recommendations, meeting nutritional requirements. And of course, we have some guidance for these things, because this includes things like the dietary reference intakes, Canada's food guide, and then even guidelines in terms of the guidelines for diabetes, or the guidelines for the Heart Association, guidelines for cancer. But what we notice is that they have some very critical things that overlap. One is variety, one is moderation of portion size, another one is an emphasis on fresh fruits and vegetables, another is an emphasis on lean meats and dairy products, and all of these things are important.
So there is not one size fits all recommendation, so it depends on the type of disease that people suffer?
Well, no, it's not one size fits all in terms of how it's translated, but I think the guidelines suggest that we should all be making moves to make these same kinds of choices. So that's adequacy, is really trying to ensure that we have the right nutrients to promote good health, avoid restrictions, avoid deficiency states. The second A is acceptability. Because in order for people to make these choices, the foods and the food patterns must be acceptable to them. So this has a real cultural implications. So for example, white rice is something that is very well accepted as a chosen food pattern among people in North America, and also among Asian countries. One study that was recently done looked at the acceptability of brown rice to people who normally eat white rice. And they identified several barriers that were not nutritionally related, but had more to do with the texture of the rice, the way it feels in your mouth, the amount of chewing that you have to do, the perception that brown rice is something that isn't right for humans. It's fed to livestock. So you could see that cultural aspect and our acceptance of brown rice could influence whether people choose these things. The next A is termed accessibility, and sometimes it's paired with what we have as the fourth A, availability. And this really refers to the types of foods that are present in your grocery store, your ability to pay for them, so the cost of foods, as well as are they close by, are they far away, and how do you manage your time, how do you manage cooking, how do you manage the skills involved in order to provide healthy foods to people who would eat them. So the 4 A's again: adequacy, acceptability, accessibility, and availability. And the last A, there is actually a fifth A, and it's called action. And action would then refer to the steps that we need to take to make the healthy choice the easy choice, to make it culturally acceptable, to have it available in a large number of places so that we're always faced with choosing between two healthy choices as opposed to having to navigate a very complicated food landscape.
With the 4A's framework, is the choices goes better for healthy food or for junk food? It seems that we are always challenged between the 4A's in favor of junk food compared to the 4A's of healthy food. So how could we make the 4A's in more favor for healthy food?
Okay. So I think, again, it starts with the individual, obviously, choosing foods according to guidelines that meet nutrition recommendations. I think it starts initially with adequacy. So having people aware that they should make choices that meet the nutrition recommendations. Most people understand that most people know what those recommendations are. The next part, though, is having foods that, again, are acceptable, available, and accessible. And so depending on the situation, I think we have to think about interventions that impact on different aspects of this framework. So, for example, in a place where we have a vending machine and we have only foods that would be so-called junk foods available to us, we might promote better choices by having foods in the vending machine that meet healthy eating guidelines. On the other hand, if the issue is a lack of grocery stores in the neighborhood or in a place where people live and work, then we may need to change municipal bylaws, or we may need to look at whether we can increase the density of places where people can shop. So depending on exactly what the situation is, we should apply the 4A's, but we know that they interact at every level. So with individuals, in the family and friends, social circles, in the community, and eventually in a broader, either global, national or global perspective.
It was Rhonda Bell with Paul Boisvert from the Research Chair in Obesity at Laval University, directly from Duchesne, Quebec, for the Obesity Bootcamp 2011.